Right, guys, welcome back. This is the Above Average FPL podcast. My name's Adam, and as always, I'm joined by Baker. Evening, mate. How you doing?
Yes.
Excited?
No.
Good.
It's such a weird wildcard week. Like I've just come off like the world's worst week, going into a weekend of North London derby and then Chelsea. Yeah, it's pretty rank. What can you ask for?
Well, yeah, I guess. I mean, I'd rather have a wild card than not have a wild card right now.
Well, there is that. I'd rather have an extra 60 points and then just spend 10 extra transfers.
I'd like to have another 150 points, but here we are. This is where we are, and we've got someone fresh off the plane from Thailand, rocking his new tan, white shirt and everything. How you doing, Luke? You all right?
Yeah, I'm good. I'd like to say I'd be able to raise the mood after that, but I also got absolutely destroyed by double game week 34. And when you asked me to come on this pod, I was very flattered, but I had to actually think about it for a few minutes. Like, do I actually want to talk about FPL? Do you guys go through that as well, where you have a bad game week, you like, do you know what? I just don't want to actually look at anything. But I decided to put my big boy pants on and give it a go because, we all love it, really, don't we? So we'll have to get back into it. What else can you do?
As I say, you're aware I'm sitting at like 1.15 million right now, right? So this is like a weekly occurrence for me. I'm trying to motivate myself to come and talk about it.
I know the feeling, mate, because I have done pods in the past and I have had seasons where it's not gone great and you have to motivate yourself to come on every week and talk about it. And yeah, no, I feel you. So the fact that you guys always show up is actually really commendable, to be fair, because there's plenty of times I just thought I can't be bothered. So hats off to you, mate.
I quite like that locks us in a way, because honestly, Wednesday night, I was feeling like this genuinely felt like the worst. It's the worst. Certainly, we've been podding for like 4 years, and I've been quite fortunate that I've not had a bad season in those 4 seasons, and felt like I was in a good place going into this week with my team. Looked like a good team. The old FPL optimized all says I'm gonna have a good week. It's fine, and then just kept watching it go down, down, down on Wednesday night. Yeah, that was probably like as bad as I felt, I think, in this. And I think if we didn't have a podcast, I'd be like, I'm not even sure I'll press the buttons for the next 4 weeks. So I was almost, in a strange way, I was like, we got to at least pod, because then I can use this as my therapy and just get it out, and it'll encourage me to think about it. And even the fact that I knew we were podding tonight, I was like, well, at least that means it goes past it, because it's just been painful, and it's painful at different spaces, isn't it? We've got yourself, so look, where were you before this game week?
Oh, I was like 1k, like just outside 1k, 1.2, I think.
Yeah, so like having an incredible season, 1.2k, with going into the week with 11 doublers, a wild card in hand. You're like, where can this be?
Yeah, well, that's exactly that. Like, all I wanted to do was, I'm obviously not going to win from that position, is, everyone just wants to have a good season. But me personally, my highest finish is 580th. So I kind of set myself that target thinking I'm just outside 1k. Like you say, wildcard, bench boost in hand. It feels like that's achievable. If I can beat that 580th, I'll be really happy. And therefore, it's like, it's annoying that I didn't get points, but I don't begrudge other people getting points, because that's the game, right? You play the game, like you've played your free hit chip. It's gone amazingly. You've got like near 200 points in some cases. Like, happy days for you. It's annoying it's not me, don't get me wrong. Happy for you.
Yeah.
But on a personal level, it's always going to be upsetting, because at the end of the day, we are geeks. We spend way too much time on this game. We shouldn't take it so seriously, but we end up doing it. And I suppose in anything in life, right, that you put time and effort in, you want to see results, right? Unfortunately for us, we play a game where the results aren't always guaranteed. There's a lot of other things you put time and effort in and you actually will see the results, whereas here there's a lot of luck involved. But then, so on a personal level, it's like fine for everyone else, they've done well. But to work, I don't want to say work hard, because it's not working hard, but you get what I mean. You put all that time and effort in, you're right where you think, oh, maybe I can have a strong finish. And then to get absolutely shafted like that when you've got, like you say, 11 double game weeks has got. It's not like I'm playing against, it's usually when someone uses a chip, the difference is like, I think Adam had a few, but sometimes you'll have it where like it's a blank week and you've got 4 players. So I'm using a free hit to get 11 players, or I've only got 2 double game weekers. Now I've got 11 to match people. I had 11 double game weekers versus 11. I've lost out by like 100 points. So there's no way that, not on a personal level, you can't take that as like, oh God, man, that's just so gutting. But yeah, I mean, what can you do, man? What can you do? You just have to crack on with it, don't you? You just have to put a smile on. It's not the end of the world in the grand scheme of things, but it is annoying. And I think anyone you know, even if you've got a massive score yourself, if you play this game and you like it, you can kind of allow that for someone else, right? You can look at them and go, yeah, do you know what? That would be pretty crap if that happened to me.
Yeah.
So yeah,
there's not a lot of that humility on the timeline.
No, there's not. There's not.
Because we're all unbelievably competitive people, so I get it. Like, do you know what I mean? But it's funny, isn't it? Like I was saying before we came on it, I actually took more pain this week from the non-free hit than I did from the free hit, really, effectively, because you know, the team that hurt me the most was Everton. Like, I lost 7 points to the average manager and Everton. The Braithwaite 20 points, absolutely, you know, huge numbers. The Zabani 7 points actually coming off the bench when I had Haaland and Palmer and then Kabore, but losing that to, you know, over 20%, you know, the Foden 16 points, monsters. The Garnacho 5 points, the Watkins 9 points. Like, when you look at the ownership of those ones, they're big, you know what I mean? It wasn't, you know, it's not just sort of free hit versus non-free hit. There's free hit versus non-free hit, and there's non-free hit versus non-free hit. It's a real variance. There's
it's not
plenty
really about
of
the chips,
hits
is it?
Biggies, isn't it?
It's not really about the chips. It's as ever, it's about the players. It just so happened in this week, nearly all of the obvious players did really, really well beyond massive expectations. And then even the ones that are carried, like you've always said, like the Braithwaite and stuff that probably wouldn't be free hit picks, have also gone absolutely nuclear.
Yeah,
you know, that can happen. I mean, there's plenty of weeks we know, even in a single game week, you go into it, Salah's at home to, say, Sheffield United, Haaland's home to Burnley in the same week. You got on captain, vice captain, your team looks great, and you come out of it and you get no points. Like that happens. Good players in good fixtures fail all the time. This was unprecedented to the level where, yes, they are good picks, but it's just the obvious ones went absolutely mental. I mean, Mateta's key, isn't he? He's so important.
Yeah, you had an unbelievable floor on free hit, especially once the Kuna thing happened, because you had to almost have Mateta. Like, it was just then no brainer. So, but yeah, Liverpool. Damn you, Liverpool.
Yeah, they were a big letdown for us, weren't they? Unfortunately,
Salah, Cap, Diaz, and Darwin, the, you know, front three that have been most, they got me 11 points.
Not good. I mean, like most people had Liverpool though. Most people had some kind of triple up for Liverpool. Like, free hitters obviously had Trent as well, so they got something nice, especially in the first game. Yeah. I mean, I got bent over by pretty much everyone, to be quite honest. Free hitters, non-free hitters, you name it, it hurt me. Palace, so like, Palace hurt me, Solanke hurt me. Like, the Arsenal differential picks hurt me. White and Havertz, obviously Braithwaite, Zabani, Foden, every single fucking week. Honestly, yeah, it was all just pain in the end. Yeah, so, but I guess I'm kind of like immune to it now. This season, I'm kind of just at this point where I'm like, okay, well, this is what it is, and I kind of just want the good players for the rest of the season. So I went and took a -12 yesterday. So not to spoil it for everyone, I just went and made 5 transfers yesterday before the game and prayed that KDB didn't get injured.
I love that you did it before the Man City game. You could have just done it after.
I was like, that annoyed.
Yeah. I like it.
Like, fuck it, just do
it. Just get them done. But I tell you, the people that, you know, do the solo YouTube and the likes of those ones, like, in weeks like this, obviously, if it's been great, then it's great. Those that wasn't, it's tough. That's tough work.
Yeah, I know that. Like, it sounds like majorly depressing. There'll be people watching this going, "What are they on about?" Like, moaning. Like, in the grand scheme of things, this is nothing. It's just a game, innit? But I laid out. We spend a lot of time and effort on it, so I think it's all right to be slightly disappointed. That's all I want to say.
From school, there's a few of Eddie's mates' dads that now know about this pod and stuff like that, and I've had a few of them like, "What the hell do I do now? Look at the state of this." Do you know what I mean? Like, there's plenty, you know, of people that just got done, but for everybody else who's done brilliantly, like, you're just going to remember this forever, surely. Like, frame it like it is.
Oh yeah, enjoy it.
It's special. Yeah, I mean, you've been around a lot longer than us in this, and so I'm sure, like, for me, this feels like the worst. But I can't really also remember those incredible weeks. Like me and Adam talked before, like we have very little memory. Although we both played this game for like 15 years, we have very little memory of those amazing ones. Like I always remember Andy Mode was Andy North showing us, like when he had like triple captain Alexis Sanchez and all that stuff, and there was that week and all those type of things. These are the sort of things. Make sure you take some screenshots because it's a doozy. It is a doozy. Well, on to this week.
Sensational. James Harding's just said you look like a floating head baker because you've got this really dark. You've got a matching jumper and sofa.
You know why I've got the match? This is actually navy and white because you have to wear navy and white all weekend for North London Derby. Like they'll be the only colours I wear all weekend.
I'm wearing navy shorts and stuff. White headphones, as you do.
That's the rules.
So how do we want to play this? Because we can work through like what are the best picks in game week 35. Obviously, we're looking at all of our teams. I mean, there's obviously lots of teams double. So I'm guessing like Wildcard really is kind of geared towards those players, right? I mean, have you planned in transfers now for the rest of the season? Are you pretty much locked in for the rest of the season transfer wise?
No, I haven't looked at a single transfer past this week.
I have, yeah. I've looked at them, but whether I actually do them, I think that's another point, though. I don't think you want to, if you can help it, schedule any ins before 37, really.
No scheduled at all is my plan with it, because ideally you want 2 for 38, don't you, really? So ideally you want to only have to make one transfer in 36, 37. It's also bloody difficult to make the transfers. Like you look at it and you're like, teams that fall in this week, like Newcastle, Man United, Tottenham, Chelsea, for example, that double again, and Man City, you want to travel up really in them. You want all these players. The question is like, who would you move to then in 37? Brighton? Like, where's the fixture and stuff of where you're going to go to? I think it's a tough one to sort of plan stuff in. My only one that is potential I'm considering is potentially Tottenham mid. So if I go a second Tottenham mid, I feel like because I don't really see any obvious transfers, so there'll be reactionary transfers. Do I take a punt on a Tottenham midfielder as a second one, and then I have the ability to flex that to somebody else? So, we've seen the Richarlison news today that he's in, but we don't know if he's playing. So I'm like, I don't feel confident enough to pick Richarlison this week. But I might want Richarlison for Burnley and Sheffield. Like, if I know that Richarlison's back in as the number 9, he's playing Burnley and Sheffield United, I'm going to want him.
I agree with that. I think that's the obvious one for me when I've looked at it, is that in 37, if you can go into 37 with 2 free transfers available, and by then, hopefully, we've got the information on Richarlison. Is he starting? Is he fit enough to play games? Because I don't think that's absolutely certain. Give him those couple of games. I think he becomes the obvious move in 37. He also frees up money because he's pretty cheap, for most players that you would take out for him. And then that allows you then to obviously go into 38 with 2 free transfers as well, because of the likelihood he would start Sheffield United as well, right? You guys probably know more than me, but yeah, I think that's the one where it's okay. So. You kind of want to be in that position where Richarlison is an option. But then if you're doing that, then obviously your triple up on Spurs now is quite important, isn't it? Because a lot of people kind of want to go the Gordon route, which I completely understand. Yeah. And then that probably lends you to either having Vicario or a second defender, which then would lock you out probably of Richarlison, because you ain't going to do Son to Richarlison, are you? So that's kind of like a big decision to make now almost. It's like, do I want to look at the Richarlison thing or not?
Or it is big, and the other option is don't triple.
Don't triple, yeah.
Yeah, all that.
Because we've obviously had 2 weeks. It's difficult to say, but we've obviously had 2 weeks off, and we've come off the back of a pretty poor performance in the last game. So what kind of lineup we're going to see? I think we're expecting pretty much the same lineup, bar obviously Udogie coming out and Ben Davies probably just playing there. I don't know how that's going to change maybe like the base of our midfield. Whether he might put Højbjerg in there just to provide a bit of extra protection for Ben Davies, perhaps. That doesn't really change anything from an FPL perspective for the players that we want to pick, I guess. But it probably just changes the shape and maybe focuses more on I don't know. It depends, because if Richarlison comes in and Son goes on that left, that might work because Ben Davies is going to be probably more defensive. You think anyway, though he does like to wander. I don't know. There's just so many unknowns. I can't get to a triple up, so that's just I'm stuck with it as a sort of a non-wild card
you
without
can't get
it.
to a triple up. You made 5 transfers.
Yeah, I made 5 transfers and did not get to a triple up. I can't do one more. No, I can't do one more.
So yeah, it is right. It is right. I definitely think especially if you're not wildcarding, like I don't think I would gamble. I certainly wouldn't hit to get myself an extra one, because you could move off. There's no certainty. But on wildcard, it is like there's double, like, and for me in the position I am, I've got to push. If I want to try and get under, I've got 37 points to make up in 4 game weeks on average. Across those, that's a huge number. So you're going to have to take some kind of chance. So I'm like, the idea that I don't triple up on Tottenham is odd. I've really wanted Vicario a week. That seemed like the keeper that I would do, but I'm like, hold on, it's harder to move really keepers around. It really is, in that sense. It's kind of a little bit easier if I wanted to move a defender around, because you can sort of do little swapsies, maybe a defender and midfielder and swap them about. So I've been earlier looking at that way, but I am now starting to think about the midfielder. The problem on the midfielder is so I messaged the good old Paul O'Keefe earlier. Asked him any thoughts, mate. His basic thoughts are they're leaking nothing. There's nothing coming out from Tottenham this weekend. That's his. He's like, this is North London derby. It's serious. There's nothing getting leaked out here.
Isn't that sweet that they think they've got a chance of winning? Bless them.
I know. He does think Davies will play as a left back. He does think that. He thinks Kulusevski will play right wing.
Oh, okay. That surprises me.
He thinks Kulusevski will play right wing.
More control versus Arsenal, is it?
Exactly. That is his thoughts. So I ain't got much else out of Paul, but those are his thoughts. I watched the presser. Some interesting stuff. Kulusevski became a dad this week. So immediately I was trying to think of myself, like, if Kulusevski becomes a dad this week, does that make him less likely that he's been around as at Brennan? But then what immediately stuck, I don't know if you remember this. Do you remember how he announced the pregnancy, Adam?
No.
When he had the mask, 2-0 against Forest was actually literally the best I've ever seen him. Was like, this is baby De Bruyne, this is the king of the world. Put the old ball up the t-shirt to announce it.
I remember that.
He was literally like incredible, like, in that one, and I'm like, all you can see is the babeta, you know what I mean? The little baby celebration. I'm like, maybe, like, it's such a hard read, like, and said some interesting stuff. I saw in the press conference, he said he wants to double down on attacking versus Arsenal.
Perfect.
And I'm like,
that doesn't sound like Kulusevski then, does it?
And I'm like, what does that mean? He did say on Son, he said Son is vital in these games. He's got the experience, and you lean on the guys with the big game players. I know he's looking forward to this, and I'm like, whoa, come on. But yeah, it's a tough read. And then I'm like, well, maybe I should then look at Maddison, because Maddison for me feels the most likely to play, but he's been terrible. I reached back out to Chris, who was on from the Extra Inch the other night, to say, I'm thinking about Maddison, like, and he's like, the problem is, like, what we've seen in the games is he's not been quite right. What if over these 2 weeks he's looked at everybody and he's gone, Gio Lo Celso has been absolutely incredible, and that's a good way for me to surprise it. And you're like, yeah, that could happen. But it feels like the most likely, I think, of the attackers is that I would back to start both. It would be Maddison. But it's tough. Like, you owned him, Adam, during this run, and it's been awful. Like, last 5 games, he's played 65, 67, 69, 75, 80. The positive is that he's played more minutes in every single game in the last 5 games before 2 weeks off. That's the positive. But you look at it.
His last return was an assist in game week 27, I think.
his XG in those games 0.1, 0.1, 0.1, 0.2, 0.1.
So basically, he has 1 shot a game, 1.5, 2 shots a game max. Because he's shooting from distance. He's not getting into positions inside the box where he's shooting, is he?
In the last 2, the shot creating actions have ramped. They have ramped. You know, so his shot creating actions went from like 3, 3, 2 to 8 and 7. So we are there were some signs that we were starting to get Maddo back. I think if you're going to do it, you just punt in that the man thinks. You just punt on the roast dinner analogy, ain't you? You just punt in on the fact that he says, I'm the big man at the roast dinner. This is North London Derby and Chelsea, and he's going to do something. But I also wouldn't be surprised if he just got himself sent off.
Yeah. As an outsider looking in, though, on that, I do think that, and I know fans get like that, and maybe there is something in it, but to me, Maddison just plays both these games because it's Maddison, and he always seems to turn up when he's fit and available. So I think that, yes, we have seen, for example, Neto with Bournemouth, like if performance levels dips, managers aren't going to ignore it. Eventually they will do something, but I don't think Maddison's got quite to that level. I actually think, I know people have been slating him and he's been bad, and I know fans have been saying that, but I think in some games he's actually been slightly unlucky as well. He did look pretty good the other day, I thought, for a little bit, and then Spurs just in general were bad, I think, which doesn't really help him. He's kind of a luxury player, isn't he, Maddison, I think, overall. Also, I mean, the real thing in terms of the FPL side of it is you've got an attacking midfielder with some set pieces who's got 2 games. So who's the most likely for minutes. So it's maybe not one that you want to carry, but after that, the fixtures then become good. So it's really hard to, like, the alternative if you do want that triple, like we've already said, is you go Vicario or go with the defender. Now, can you see guys getting a clean sheet in either of those games? I mean, maybe versus Chelsea, but I wouldn't have thought so, right? So
no. I mean, I would also caveat that Porro's obviously back, so that's going to take some of the may take some of the set pieces and corners,
most of the corners,
away from Maddison. So that sort of route to points is probably going to be limited. So there is that.
And playing Arsenal
it's hard.
Limits your route to points in the next place too. It's a right gamble. The bits that pushed me a little bit more towards, so I wasn't towards it. You'll see with the draft. I haven't got Maddison in there at the moment, but I've been looking at it. It's probably the Haaland news. So obviously, we know we've now got Haaland training. We know he's now tweeted about 6 cup finals. It'll be remiss if we don't now pick your brain, Luke, on everything City. But the fact is that even if he doesn't play this week, I think we would all assume that he plays Wolves. Is that we okay with assuming Wolves?
Yeah, I mean, if you want me to talk about it now, I can't. This bit's quite hard, right? Because my guess is as good as yours or any other person's. Like, obviously, what I do with City and how I predicted. I mean, I've given up this season doing it, so I haven't been looking at it in as much depth. But a lot of what I've done is looking at, the matchup, who the opponent is, the tactics. Sometimes the turnaround is forced to the point where you have to consider rest and rotation, but usually Pep picks it on the opponent. Now, we all know Haaland would start every game based on the opponent. He's not going to pick Alvarez over Haaland specifically. Extremely rare occasions would that happen. So Haaland would play if he's fit, but I'm not involved in the training. I don't know how fit he is, do I? I'm not there. So my guess becomes as good as anyone else's in this circumstance. The only bit of insight that I can really add on this is that from my experience of following Pep in the past, he very, very rarely puts a player in directly after they've just come back to training. We know he's come back today, and then he's got Saturday as well to get in the team. It's only on a few occasions I can think. So he does do it. So straight away, you can't just rely on that under blanket rule. I can think of like Walker versus Vinicius Jr. Literally very recently, only just come back from training. Obviously, they forced him back quite quickly, straight in the team because it was a very big game. It's usually for very big games. I wouldn't say that this game, they need him, right? They don't have to do that. So it would be a bit of an exception for him to throw him back in. The added bit is I happen to know that Haaland, although he did pick up an injury, he was actually ill this week as well. So that was a large part of why he's missed training. So I don't know how bad the injury was, but the illness kept him away from training. Now that makes it's a double whammy. So, but it's a little bit less in terms of like they're worried about the injury. He's just missed training for a few days of illness, which we think fitness wise, he's probably still okay. And I suppose a lot of people will be screaming, well, they have to win every game. I know for a fact, even from speaking to Tony, who obviously does the leaks and stuff, that Haaland begs to play every single week and he wants to play all the time, which you can understand. And he's going for the golden boot. So I do actually buy into that slightly, that in this circumstances, if he's actually back fit, the injury is okay, he's got 2 days of training, he only missed a bit through illness really towards the end, there's a decent chance that he does play. But I'll go back to it. Anyone's guess is as good as mine. I would err slightly on the fact that because he's only just come back to training, Pep would maybe keep the team that's just won 4-0, Alvarez in it. It's a bigger picture than just Haaland and winning the league. It's more about his whole ethos for me. It's like he always says, and we've seen it multiple times in the press, I look at players' body language in the training. They have to show me in the pitch. Part of his whole thing is keeping so many world-class players happy is telling them they've got a chance to play for this team if they show him what they need to. So if someone just walks in on reputation, barely does any training, straight bam, you're straight back in the team. He doesn't usually do that. It's only for special circumstances. So it's just whether Haaland could basically get in his ear enough, I think, and say, look, golden boot, bring me back in. That's for me. So yeah, I'm kind of at the moment on, I'd say like almost a coin flip, but like 55 that he's probably on the bench. But I'm wondering if that suits my narrative because we're on Wildcard and it's extremely hard to pick who's going to on my bench.
Yeah, on Wildcard, you feel like you almost have to bench him.
Well, yeah, because the alternative is to bench Foden, and I'm almost certain that Foden will play. Whereas with Haaland, there's at least a little bit of uncertainty, right? So that could go very badly because the free hit 34 gang won't be benching Haaland, will they? I wouldn't imagine.
No. And that immediately just feels really crappy about Wildcard is that you're in that position where you're like, all right, I'm immediately going to go into this and not play Haaland. Do 6 cup finals. It's a tough world, but I think I just would have to play Foden over Haaland this week. It feels really difficult not to. But what I do think is that I definitely have to play Foden and Haaland in 36, and I need someone to bench. And I look at the other obvious candidates. It's Isak away at Burnley. I know Newcastle looks good, but I'm not benching Isak away at Burnley. That's not happening. And even Gordon away at Burnley, I wouldn't fancy that. If I had Bruno, would I want to bench him away at Palace?
Maybe.
It's tough,
but not really.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Not really. Son away at Liverpool. I mean, that's always going to be tough for me, and he's always good against Liverpool. Firmly enjoys playing against them. And then Palmer home to West Ham, definitely not. Is that case? And even then Jackson home to West Ham. And you're like, right, I need someone. I need a full guy in this one, and that makes it a little bit easier for me if I was to do the Madison punt. Is that
Exactly.
I'm like, he's one that I can just go. I'm gonna roll him out because I think he starts both these. I'm gonna bench him in 36, and I'll roll him out in 37. The downside, the massive downside, is Bruno or Gordon. Whichever one of those two, because I think Bruno or Gordon is basically the person that you leave out if you go for a second person. And you've got Gordon at home to Sheffield United, which is a problem based on how he does at home, And we saw last night, like Brighton, look, I feel like Gordon against Brighton at home as well is also a very good game, with what they're putting out and where they've got to in their fixtures with all the injuries they've got. And Burnley, it can be.
I think some people would actually bench Son as well. Maybe in that situation because you've got Bruno, Son, Gordon. I think if you don't have Madison, would you probably be because you won't benching Foden and you won't benching Palmer, are you? I wouldn't have thought so.
I think he's probably the obvious one out of the front eight.
And that scares me, doesn't it? Versus Liverpool, Son, penalties, everything. Yeah. You're asking for pain, but we shouldn't really be scared of getting points on the bench. Like if your team's great and it carries you through, you just have to, take it on the chin if that happens. And safe in the knowledge that quite a few other people will have done it as well. It's just it can be hard to take mentally, but if it's the right player, it's the right player, isn't it?
And then Bruno's just playing and just scoring, and just doing everything. The last 2 games, I know obviously one of them was against Coventry and stuff, but 9 key passes in each of the last 2 games. You're like, geez. You know what I mean? Let alone the ridiculous. Everyone would say, "Oh, can't keep scoring penalties, can't keep scoring 30-yarders and all that stuff." But hey, if you put 9 key passes in every game, you'll probably do all right. Full stop.
Well, the appeal of Bruno is not just that, is it? That he's in form and, like you say, the penalties. Yeah, it's the fact that the guy's playing with a broken hand right now. You just don't need to worry about him, do you? You put him in 90 minutes every game. Fixtures are fine. Like he is a pretty comfortable and easy pick. I don't think he's absolutely necessary. Like we said, there's a few other options. Like I do think you can look at not going with him because it's really this week home to Burnley where he's probably great. The away to Palace, like you say, the double's okay because it's 2 home games, but do we expect anything out of Arsenal and Newcastle? Probably not as much as some others. Like I probably think Gordon, even the Spurs mids are better in that week. And then the final week away for Brentford, I think a lot of people will be looking to sell him based on league stats.
everyone will sell him, won't they?
Or bench him or whatever. So he's not absolutely key, but he just solves the headache, doesn't he? Just have him there and you can be pretty sure that he's going to play.
It's just guaranteed, isn't it?
Mm.
Like Adam will say, you're not on free hit. For me, like Bruno's like the most obvious pick you could ever possibly pick, because why would you not do that? Like, that sounds like the most obvious thing in the world. And for me, it looks like is it trying to be too, when you look at, say, Bruno and Gordon this week, it's like, is it trying to be too clever to go against them? The positive of going against Gordon is that you can do 2 Newcastle defenders, isn't it?
Yeah, that's one I'm wrestling with, and I think a lot of people are. Sorry, I'm conscious I'm taking up a lot of airtime, Adam. If you wanted to talk, so just interrupt me, mate.
Keep going. You guys are on Wildcard. This is about Wildcard. It's all good.
Okay. Makes me feel a little bit easier.
Carry on, mate.
Basically, the Gordon thing, yeah. It's quite scary. I mean, it's sad world we've come to in it, where it's scary not picking Gordon for. I never expected to be saying those words, especially after his Everton time, but here we are. The fact that Trippier's not in the team as well, he obviously takes some set pieces. Like, he's just a really, really good pick. And similar to Bruno, he seems to be pretty much indestructible. He's going to turn up and he's going to play all the minutes, right? I don't think there's any concerns there. So his price is fantastic as well. And at home, Sheffield United is scary. But you're right, you know on the head there, or hit the nail on the head, sorry. It's the double Newcastle defence does look quite appealing compared to the other options, like the double Spurs, or which Chelsea pick you'd even want to if you don't go the keepers, like nearly impossible. So then you end up not looking at doublers, and it doesn't feel great to not go with a doubler. Like, there are other options, like you go for an Everton defender maybe, and then you could bench boost him in the single versus Sheffield United. In 37, sorry, or you could go for Maguire or someone like that. And it's like, I'm not sure I want to do that. The double Newcastle, even though they haven't been great defensively and they've got a lot of injuries, I still just have deep down a little bit more faith that at home to Sheffield United, they might be able to keep one. And if you can get close to matching whatever Gordon gets there, I just think the Maddison attack option, having double Spurs attack, just feels a little bit better. But it's extremely close. Like, I haven't actually decided either way. I'm just spitballing right now. I could end up either way. So yeah, I'm not quite sure which way I go, but a lot of this will be also team budget dependent, I guess. There's some people out there, like especially in the analytics chats that I'm in, that because they play obviously extremely safe and they do their transfers right at the very end of the game week and stuff, which is probably the way you should play. Like, their team value is actually quite poor. So this is the point in the season where it can actually affect you. But at the same time, you can pay all that money for another player, like go for a luxury pick like a De Bruyne, for example, when it could just end up hurting you because Gordon might just be a better pick and Bruno might be a better pick. Like, money doesn't guarantee anything.
I got lured in this week on the bloody YouTube algorithm that promoted Anthony Gordon's interview with Gary Neville in the old overlap. If you haven't watched it, if you watch it, you'll be like, I'll just run through walls for Anthony Gordon. He was so impressive. Like, he's so ambitious. He's so tunnel vision. Really, really intense in how he was. And like, he's already, like, he basically talks about how he's manifested and played over in his brain over and over again that he's scoring the winner in the Euros. Not like, how am I doing this? He's like, I am scoring the winner in the Euros. This is happening. Like, I'm not scared of any defender. I'm not scared of any, like, he's absolute maniac in this.
Was this the clip where we saw that he said that Gerrard was his idol? Is that the clip that came from? He was talking about growing up in Liverpool, obviously Gerrard being his idol.
Yes, he isn't that. He isn't it? It is a bit about that. Yeah, but even if you watch just the 1 minute YouTube short of him in that thing, like Neville, you can see even Neville's like, Christ, this guy is intense. Like, he's just on it. And I'm like, well, there's only 5 games left. Like, he needs to get on the plane. That's a tough gig to get him on the plane. Like, I mean, it's a bit easier to get on the plane a little bit now because they've increased him in the squad size, like 23 to 26. So it probably helps him. But it just felt like, whoa. Well worth. As I said, we're a bit short on time before the deadline, but it's well worth nothing else. Watch the 1 minute short of him on the overlap. It was brilliant. It's tough, but Bruno, and then take the punt. So
I was going to say, where are we? We're now 37
Adam,
minutes in.
We need you to tell you about that. To tell us about the -12 that we've done.
Would you just go straight? We're just going straight to the -12.
Well, what about what 3 Chelsea you pick? Because we're straight into the first double game week, can't we?
Okay, let's talk about the 3 Chelsea you guys pick, because I've got 1 + 1 injured player right now. So I can go and look at my team if you want. This is what I've kind of got at the moment. That's not my team at all, is it?
That's the team that you had?
That's a team that I had a while ago. What team is that?
That's not even last week's team.
That's game week 33. Why is that there? Hold on a second.
It's got at least 2 Chelsea there.
Let's just
there
that.
You go.
So yeah, my minus 12. I have to remember all the players. So I took out Van Dijk, Saka, Bumo, Salah, and Darwin, and brought in Porro, KDB, Bruno, Son, and Isak. Seems reasonable. Seems
like there's no bad picks, is there?
There's no bad players that have been picked there. I mean, obviously the Gordon. I mean, you're talking about wrestling over double Newcastle defense. I just think that Newcastle at double up of Isak and Gordon is so strong that if I was on a wild card, I mean, that would be like a guarantee for me. I would much rather go into it with having like double Arsenal defense and just knowing that they're the best defense on the planet right now, and rocking that, even though they obviously don't double now, and they don't double in 37 either. But I'd rather just take that and just lock it in. And yeah, I'd probably still have a United player, maybe 2 in there for 37, but yeah, I would much rather go with double Newcastle attack. I've only got Palmer from Chelsea. Obviously, I've got Gusto just sitting on the bench there because I just assumed that he'll be back for. I think there was a guy at the training ground saying he's looking to get back in contention for the game against West Ham, which is fine, because he can sit there because I've got half decent defenders there, and Richards has a decent game next week. I think he's Bournemouth. I think he's got in 36. So
yeah.
I am not overly rushed in getting him back in, and then if he doubles in 37, that's perfect. So, I'm still going to obviously feel the pain of someone like Foden. Having Haaland, I will start Haaland.
Yeah,
I think I just have to. And then Garnacho's there as a sort of almost like a safety net if he doesn't play, which is fine. I've got captaincy on Son at the moment. I'm thinking of going full rogue and just captaining Isak because it feels like a game where Isak could just score like 4 goals and then get subbed off or whatever. Because obviously, and obviously Wilson's back in and around the squad. I think so. Maybe there's some minutes risks there. I don't know. Obviously they've been playing like that. They've been playing Barnes and Gordon, right? So I don't know.
Garnacho versus Haaland in this.
Sorry.
Like Garnacho versus Haaland, like I had this like massive regret that I suddenly realised that I did Garnacho to Diaz in the last week, whereas if I'd have done Haaland to Mateta, I then would have still had Garnacho to come off my bench, and then I'd have got his 5 points, and I'd have got 30 points, and I'd have been all good. But I watched the highlights back, and suddenly I felt quite lucky because Garnacho could have had 25 points, and even the goal that Haaland scored, like he nicks it off of Garnacho's feet. But Garnacho back on the left, mate, he was absolutely electric. Like I'm scared of no Garnacho this week. He was so good. I wonder, maybe just speak to.
I'd start Garnacho after Haaland as well. He's got higher non-penny XGI per 90, not by much, but he has got higher. And he's a midfielder, so he scores more points if he scores a goal.
I didn't see the press, so I don't know if Rashford's out this week as well. But if he is, then obviously your Nacho minutes are much more secure as well. Much worth Praz or Danny or Prano just asking them about that pit, because all I came away from watching those highlights was like, bloody hell, I was lucky that Garnacho didn't get a shitload more points because he was so good.
Potentially, yeah. Fair enough.
It's tough, isn't it? Because it's 2 players from the same team and the same attack.
It's also Muric that's just handed goals to strikers in the last 4 weeks. He's like literally handed goals to strikers in the last weeks. Just kick them at him.
Yeah.
So it's a difficult one. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm just punting on Haaland because I've brought him in 2 weeks ago, so I need him to pay, right?
It's the natural thing, and it's how nice we like 3-4-3 in this world. It looks all nice. It looks symmetry.
And I've had Garnacho for so long. I'm just
he's
like
the cheap guy, and he's there. But I think it's probably just worth some comments or some looking and thinking myself. Like, is it definitely the right? I'm not well educated enough on Man United to watch it, but obviously, yeah. If Haaland didn't score that late goal, I think this might have been. You've been like,
it was only his third shot, and his XG before that goal was like 0.08. It was terrible.
Honestly, just go back and just quickly look at the like 10-minute highlight, wherever it is, of that, and see how good Garnacho was. I cannot believe he didn't score 20 points for you this week.
The only thing I might change in here, and it might just be because if you can see one change that I might make in here, what is that move, Baker?
Well, you've got bench boost, haven't you, still to come?
Yeah, I'll bench boost in 37. Yeah.
So why not take it? Why not Neto?
No. I was gonna basically just put Richards in instead of Gabriel just because of Sunday. But
wow.
So.
But Neto, like at some point, you're probably gonna have to make a keeper move, aren't you?
Yeah, probably, especially if Neto doesn't play.
Is Haaland benching not even a consideration from you then, just because that solves your Garnacho and Haaland go all in on the Man United thing to be different? I mean, there's obviously a fairly strong chance that he gets a cameo, isn't there? So was that not a consideration?
I mean,
would it just be too damaging if he started before he scored?
I mean,
I'd play Haaland.
Like if he just if he starts and then funnily enough, actually, if he starts and a bunch of people on Wildcard like you guys, for example, don't start him, and I've got Haaland away at Forest. I don't think a lot will. If I've got Haaland away at Forest at whatever percentage he will be, I mean, that's good for me. Although there's quite a lot of people that have just got him as perma-cap still up in my
we aren't going to get level. We aren't going to get any news on Haaland, by the way, because of the timing of the game. So they train Saturday and they meet at sort of late on Saturday, and the team gets locked in Saturday night, usually by Pep. So it'll be way past deadline. So you won't get any concrete news. You already know he's in training. That's as much as anyone gets.
It's going to be the horrible thing that we are going to probably know though by the time he kicks off.
Oh, so you'll probably know by then. Stuff, but you can't do anything about it.
Not for FPL.
I kind of like that though, because although it's not nice when it's revolving around injury rather than a tactical guess, it's back to actually having to think about it. Although the swings can be brutal, it's better than being spoon-fed it. And sometimes I think.
This is the time though. What you've done there is this is the time. Like take them out, even if you haven't like scored like 150 points like everybody else. Still set your team up. Like set your team up. There's got 4 weeks to go. It's the analytics guys teach us that in a really good time. Luke, you've told me many times, if you're going to take the hit, do it in a bloody double. Like get yourself in the right space. But we've got you've got players you've brought in there that double. Like so.
Yeah.
Does that make it free? Because we say it's only -2, whatever it is, in a double. But if they've got double, does that mean that hits are free this week?
Well, over that whole period, but obviously that anything can happen before we get to that game week where it doesn't work out, doesn't it? They can get injured or whatever. But yeah, technically, I suppose. I mean, I think your team's fine. You've got a good first bench. Good. Everything is fine for this week. Don't see any particular issues with it. It's obviously the fact that you've had to take a -12 to get there that's more the issue than anything else. But team looks fine.
I don't know why, but I just had like Club Tropicana just come into my head, just with the lyrics "in double game weeks hits are free." It just came into my head there. Just singing that over and over in my head. I'm not actually going to sing it. Right, let's move away from my -12.
A pina colada IPA. So maybe it was in.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah,
of course you did.
It's good.
Luke, let's go to your team. Hopefully this is actually this is the one you sent me.
Yeah, again, I reserve the right to change because I'm all over the place. But I suppose I better go through it for the pod, right? Read out the names at least. I've got Petrovic in goal, Edison on the bench, Shah, Porro, and Byrne. I've then got Maddison, Son, Palmer, Foden, Fernandes, Isak, and Jackson. And then on my bench, I've got Haaland, White, and Gabriel. Now, this uses all of my budget. And I will say, as a caveat, for some reason, I seem to have the greatest budget of all time. I don't even know how that happened.
I'm not joking. I put this into FPL team under my login, and I'm short by 1.9 million. Was it? Yeah, 1.9 million. I need an extra 1.9 million to get this squad, and I got Palmer at 4.9.
We're not that far away, so I'm going to try and plug this in, see if I can do it. I don't think I could. Yeah, because the Bruno thing, I was looking at it.
That's the common reaction I get, but I don't really know that happened because I have done some early transfers, but I haven't really followed price changes. It's just I've got lucky in terms of I bought players in quite early that have ended up going really high up in value. Like I got Alvarez in game week 2 or something when De Bruyne got injured. He went up massively.
Yeah, but that's because they do well, and that's why you're up at the rank that you are as
Yeah,
well. I mean, it does generally go hand in hand.
Yeah, you're right. It is that. But I have moved transfers early in some occasions as well, and got lucky with that. But like I say, the money doesn't necessarily guarantee anything because, I can afford a team like this. I mean, there's other things when I run it because I obviously use review quite a lot as well. If I run it through, like review default at the moment wants me to pick Salah in my team to start. Doesn't want me to mess around with Bruno Fernandes.
Because you've got so much money.
Because I've got so much money. Yeah, it wants me to have Salah because, I mean, people are saying at the moment Liverpool are obviously looking shocking. He's not playing well, but the fixtures are still good, especially in game week 38 home to Wolves for the send-off. He gives you an alternative captain option over Haaland as well. It could end up being great. Obviously, he's got West Ham, and who else is it he's playing the week after that's pretty good as well. So the fixtures are pretty good. You just kind of sell him in 37 for someone else. But I don't know if I'm going to do that. But yeah, that's my team at the moment. I like it. The thing that I like about this is the fact that it gives me the Richarlison option. Like I was saying, Maddison can go to Richarlison in 37, and that's what, by ignoring Gordon, which could end up hurting me, that's the kind of bet I'm taking there. Is yes, I expect Gordon to probably destroy me this week, and he could continue to destroy me because he's fine. But the bet is that Richarlison can kind of match him or do as well, and then my double Newcastle defense actually ends up beating anyone else's version of their defense. And then I've also got the double Arsenal defense, as you can see, so I can use that home to Everton and is it home to Bournemouth? I think is the other game.
Yeah,
as well either side. And then annoyingly, the bench boost will be single game week as White and Gabriel bench boosting away to Man United. So a lot will ride on the fact that whether Arsenal can keep that clean sheet away to Man United as to how good that'll be. Because my other player on the bench will actually be Jackson, along with Petrovic. So I can actually see a world where Man United score. I mean, they score at home quite a lot, to be honest. My two defenders get nothing. Petrovic even gets dropped, which I think is a consideration that could happen. And then the other player is Jackson, who, let's be honest, it wouldn't be out of this. It wouldn't be crazy to think that Jackson doesn't do that well. So I could end up bench boosting a really poor score there. So that's the concern, I guess. But I suppose everyone's got it. I don't think the bench boost is actually that great in 37 overall. Like,
I think I suddenly started to dawn on me how bad this bench, because I'm like, oh, well, at least when I bench boost, I'll get like 15 to 20 points on it. And I'm like, actually, I'm not getting that.
No, probably not. Probably not. And then you start looking at like, what can I have an Everton player like if they can keep that clean sheet like they did this week? We got a Brandweight or something like that, 10 points versus Sheffield United. Maybe that's better.
Mm.
The key is obviously to put your best players on the bench. By the way, that's the way to do it.
Yeah. But what you've done is right. What effectively, and this is what I started with. I was looking at, even if I tried to make the best bench boost I could possibly make. So what's that bench? But so that I can, claim bravado that my bench boost was best. What it meant was my 36 and 38 teams were much worse.
Yeah, it's over the period, isn't it? It's not about
and so I actually feel like I'm like not going to have the greatest bench boost, but it means the double. Say, for example, if you wanted to go for the best bench boost, you wouldn't have double Arsenal defense this week. But what you're looking at is the 36 and 38, and that's what I wanted.
Yeah, it's over the period, isn't it? I mean, there was a week earlier in the season I was debating using my bench boost, and that was the week that Palmer scored 18 on my bench. So that alone, plus I think I had a few others, ended up with about 25, 26 points. So in hindsight, I absolutely should have done it that week now. But
yeah, I think earlier bench boost on hindsight might have been the way. I want to ask a question because you've got a huge amount of value. Because I think if I had a huge amount of value, my big temptation would be Kevin De Bruyne.
Yeah, I've definitely looked at the drafts for Kevin De Bruyne. I cannot say I haven't. It is tempting to have the 3 City, but then that basically means you don't have Bruno. And I come back to the fact of, although I do believe strongly, actually, for once, because I'm not really the biggest fan of De Bruyne in FPL, obviously in real life, like different question. But his minutes are always slightly ropey. I do believe he will play every game. Like even the ones which are quite close, I don't really see any reason why he wouldn't. The only reason I can see is if he was just, as we've seen quite a few times, pure fatigue, take me off Pep, like it's happened a few times, is getting on, or like he gets injured. I do think he's probably going to start every game. The alternative as well is, I guess, like the other day, they were 4-0 up. Like, you're going to protect Kevin De Bruyne in those games, I would suspect. He doesn't necessarily have to be involved in the goals. it's not any of that stuff. I like that stuff. I'm absolutely happy with. It's just whether he's a better pick, full stop, because the guy doesn't score that often. Yes, it's lovely seeing a great player score those diving headers like he did the other night. Doesn't really shoot that often. You're really relying on the assists and the bonus. And yes, I know he has scored 4 goals in a double game week. Someone keeps reminding me all the time of, but I think there's a world where Bruno, despite playing for a terrible team in general compared to Man City, could just outscore De Bruyne. So I'm not sure he's just a better pick. And then when you do that, it has knock-on effects everywhere else, right? The alternative would be Onana and De Bruyne, I guess, versus Ederson and Bruno. I think the safer pick is probably Ederson and Bruno. But I don't begrudge anyone who wants to do it, and I may still do it myself, where you just go a little bit different. There's only a few weeks left. You're kind of making a bet that De Bruyne just goes crazy. Like, it could happen. We're talking about a world-class player, right? So it could easily happen. And it's more exciting. I do actually like the whole fact that a lot of people have done this in the past, where you go into a double game with Man City and you leave that slot open, right? Because you might end up getting leaks, or you might end up, and having Ederson kind of locks me out straight away. I'm Ederson, Foden, Haaland, and there's nothing I can do about it. So I do actually like the whole fact of going Ederson, Foden, and maybe not picking your other option, and then looking at 37 who you want to get. Because by the time we get to 37, what happens if we have certain injuries that make it so that someone has to be, Doku could suddenly be a pick-up, for example, if Grealish and everyone else gets injured or something like that.
And it's the early game, isn't it? So I've considered that as well. So on the same keep of things at the moment, but not having Ederson, so having like an Arna, for example, and then having the ability to pick a third City. But
I mean, De Bruyne starts them though. So if you're confident that De Bruyne is a great pick, he's going to do well.
He's great.
Yeah, I think he's fine. I think he starts them.
Adam?
Yes, sir.
Are you capping Kevin De Bruyne in 36 against Wolves again?
That feels... I don't know yet. I
think you should.
I mean...
It feels romantic.
I mean,
the game you got 4 goals?
But then you've also got... Yeah.
Okay.
Then you've got Palmer at home to West Ham. That's the only problem. And West Ham just shipped 5 to Palace. So...
The beauty of De Bruyne as well is he's better than Bruno on the final day, right? It does stop you from going Bruno to, say, a Saka or a Salah if you could even afford that. But I think De Bruyne final day versus West Ham feels pretty nice as well. Definitely better than Bruno on that week.
Exactly. So
I mean, final day's just got to be. It's just got to be Son, isn't it?
Yeah, it probably has for us, mate. It probably has for us. I mean, I'm quite pleased looking at this but I hadn't really fully taken in how ridiculous your team value is. But I was looking at this and I was like, I was expecting, because we hadn't seen this before we went live. I hadn't seen your team, and I was like, oh, I wonder how different we're going to be, and we're not hugely different in where we're at. And I think where I'm currently at now, it'll be even closer than that.
Yeah, I think if anyone wanted to copy, not that I should suggest you should even try and copy me, but you can literally just make a couple of alterations to that team, and you could pick it quite similarly. Like, for example, you could go Garnacho over Bruno. That could save you a lot of money. You could do, you could try Brennan Johnson, instead of Maddison as another option. Alternatively, the one is the double Arsenal's a bit much. It's like you don't have to have the double Arsenal. You could just have Maguire over one of the Arsenal defenders, or Van der Heck even, or Tarkowski, whoever it is, and then you probably can get quite close to it.
Currently, neither of us have got any Man United defence, but I seen quite a lot of Dalot versus Maguire picks, and I just think Maguire's the better option right now. Like, I was looking at the shot volumes in the last six games, and like 13 shots compared to like 1 for Dalot. I'm like, I don't expect Man United to keep cleans, full stop, but I do expect them there. And I think a lot of the times, because people are wildcard, quite a lot of people are wildcarding and playing their Man United defender this week, and everybody who I've seen who's playing the Man United defender this week is playing Dalot. And I do think it's almost like I've wildcarded and I'm starting Maguire, like that's the world's worst thing. But Burnley ship a load of set piece goals. Like, I'd still rather have Maguire than Dalot this week. And I wouldn't be, embarrassed that I've wildcarded and I'm starting Harry Maguire. I think it's almost the caricature of him. But I don't hate that world at all that you move to that space. So me, I've currently got the same keeper pair as you, of Petrovic and Ederson. like you, I share a lot of concerns about it. I've been trying to stay away from the Petrovic pick because I do think Bob Sanchez might be an issue. I saw today that he's in partial training, and I'm like, maybe they just wrap him up. Because one of the things that I did worry about was obviously if they were still in the FA Cup, would be they'll get him a game before the FA Cup final. Now he's not got that. Maybe they just go, yeah, right off the season and leave him with it. But I don't really like the keeper, so it's not ideal. But it's roll him out this week. It's roll him out in 37. Edison plays the rest.
If Man City have still got the league on, because that's the other concern. That's the other slight concern there, isn't it? If they do decide to give Sanchez 38, I think that would probably be the most likely of all the ones if they were to give it to him.
Yeah.
What happens if Man City have already won the league by 38? Because we know that they just changed the whole team. We could end up with no goalkeeper. I don't think it's going to happen, but it's a consideration, right? That it could happen. And that's why Onana and Vicario give you that little bit of extra security there.
But maybe, oh God, I need to just check something because Mr. Flapjack has texted in capitals that I need to check the group chat. Have a little group chat with Flapjack. Oh, it's absolutely nothing of any importance whatsoever. That he says, how nailed is Davies then? So I have shared Davies, Porro as my starting back three currently. Ben Davies, I fancy him. I think he will start left back. The more I've talked it through with more learned people in the old Extra Inch boys that we spoke to, check that pod out if you haven't already early in the week. It's all time stamped. But I was thinking about that Wolves game where we were crap and we got beat, but he was left back, and every single set piece did go to Ben Davies. He actually had 0.5 xG and 3 shots in that game. Like he somehow got himself on the end of everything when he played left back, and his heat map looks unbelievable in that game when he played left back. And I'm like, well, maybe I can dream that I get a Porro to Davies set piece that would work out. You know, that's the thing. We should note that both myself, Adam, I don't think you mentioned it, Adam and myself are both captain in Sun this week. Of course we are. And
probably.
Yeah. And so like the idea almost like of trying to like manifest how this game works out is we somehow win one of our games to 0 and I get the double clean and all that stuff works. So at the moment I've got Davies and Porro. That's what's currently sitting in my FPL app. The midfield I've got therefore Foden, Palmer and Son have not left any. Bruno and Gordon are the other two. For me, it's the pretty standard front 8, really. And then Isak, Jackson, and then Haaland bench, and the same as you, White and Gabriel, the two on there. My thing that I'm considering is Bruno and Davies as much fun as Maddison and Maguire?
I think Davies is pretty fun in the sense. I don't think he's fun as a player, but it's fun in the sense that I don't think many
double Spurs defense, mate. Like we're the worst.
It is banter, but at the same time, the fixtures are really good around the edges, aren't they? Like no one keeps clean sheets anyway, so I think you only have to rely on the fixture, don't you? Go, well, the fixture's that bad or that good, sorry, that there's a chance. And they've got so many of them. They've got Sheffield. Who else have they got? Luton. I can't remember who it is now offhand, but it's some terrible games that they've got in around that. You think even Spurs might be able to manage to get them?
We've got Burnley and Sheffield United. Burnley and Sheffield United around Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Man City.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been saying for at least 4 weeks when we've been talking about even getting in Porro for me was a challenge because I'm still not hot on our defense whatsoever. I honestly, if you go double Tottenham defense and then complain that you get a red arrow, you can't call me a prick this week.
Exactly.
You just can't.
Exactly. So I'm going Maddison and Maguire.
Yeah, that feels better. But then you've got Maguire, so you still it is what it is.
I don't have to have Maguire, so I've got.
Can you go Bruno and Maguire?
Oh, of course I could go Bruno Maguire.
that'd be much better.
we don't talk that. Don't talk that bad. There's conditional changes here. So if I take out Davies, oh Christ, I've got loads of money.
Yeah, but who do you pick? This is the problem. When you go Gordon midfield, this is the whole thing highlighted. Who do you get in defence if you don't have double Newcastle?
So here's the question. All right, take Davies out. So let's say we put Madison in front of Bruno. I have 5.4 million to spend on a defender.
Okay, that's pretty much every defender in the game that's worth anything.
Yeah. Now, if I was saying like, what's the defender I want? It's probably Walker. So could I go Walker and Onana rather than go Maguire and Edison?
Well, you can do, yeah.
But what do you think about Walker, Luke?
I've owned
Captain's
Walker for like 23 game weeks, I think it is. I was on I was on him very early. I think he's fine. I think I mentioned on Twitter before, I think he's a fine pick. Like Gvardiol, Diaz, and Walker, I think will play the majority because they're in their best team. I'd also add Stones into that if he could actually stay fit and be trusted.
Yeah, but I hate Diaz, so I can't just keep slagging him off every week and stick him in, mate. I can't just say no. It's terrible. So Gvardiol looks like, is the fun, like in that sense. But then Walker was rapid last night. Like he's not going to come over against Brighton's madness every week, but.
Yeah, but this is the thing with Walker, right? In that game last night, I don't know if you watched it, but Rodri dropped into the back, basically made a back three.
So we just went.
And they pushed Gvardiol and Walker really wide to bring the Silva and Foden inside into the eights. And it was a plan cooked up for the game. And that's what I'm getting at, is the fact that that's not always the plan. And Walker will very often actually play the right centre-back role and have no attacking threat whatsoever. So you can't expect that to happen in every game. In fact, it's very more likely that Gvardiol end up being the one that actually attacks on the
left side. Because when it's the low block teams and all that stuff, like Gvardiol just goes camping out as a number 9.
But that worked last night, so there's no saying that you won't do it again. But this is part of the gamble you pay. You're playing, right? I think Walker will play them all. There is a chance that he doesn't play them all because I could be wrong, and we've seen that Walker does occasionally get rested or rotated. Whereas with Edison, you think it's basically not happening unless the league is won. So you just add that little bit of risk there. So is it worth it? I don't know. It's for every individual to decide.
Okay, got to try and work out the money.
All their centre backs are fit now, aren't they? Even Stones and Akanji are now back. So now they've got 7, I think it is, and that's if you don't include Lewis. That go into 4 spots. So
stick with Edison's what you're saying to me, mate.
I think that's the safest thing. But, if Walker's going to play right wing and bang in 2 assists every game, then I'll look like a mug, why not? So, don't let me stop you.
Yep. Fine. Okay. Davies and Bruno out. Madison and work out who my defender is. I've got to push. You've got to try and put, like as I said, 37 points to try and catch up for me to get the 5-figure rank again. Then I've got to just hope that Son and Maddo turn up and do wonderful things. That's really the game. And it still feels, like Adam said, it still feels better to bang almost on the attack than it does to try and say, you know what, the best way you could try and get a green arrow is a double Tottenham defence.
It makes 0 sense. It makes 0 sense whatsoever.
It's not about that in isolation, though. The big decision for Wildcard, I never keep banging on it, is basically which one of Bruno, Gordon, and Madison do you want to drop?
Yeah.
And that sets everything else into place as to which one it is. Because I don't think you can drop Foden or Palmer or Son.
No.
So it's which one of those 3, and that shapes the rest of your Wildcard.
Or do you pull some money out of those, quite luxury defenders, really, in terms of like the amount you're spending in it, and go to Bruyne.
Yeah, I suppose he's the wild card pick that you can add in there as well, to be fair.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I've seen this week, right? If you are in a position where you're not happy with your rank, like I suppose Adam is, that's exactly what I would be doing. I wouldn't be pissing around with any of this stuff. You've got 3 or 4 weeks to go. De Bruyne could easily bang. I saw Simple Goal, who did
Dave, mate. What a man.
Dave. Yeah, who obviously did the chat man. He did exactly that. Clearly, he wasn't particularly happy with his rank. He went for well, obviously the free hits were great. I don't want to bang on about it because we all sucked in that week. But
Yeah.
he didn't just pick. I mean, like for me, for example, I can't sit here and say that I would have definitely gone Ben White. I might have just gone Gabriel and Saliba because I'm a little bit more boring. But he's gone, no, do you know what? I am where I am. I've got to go for those extra people like the Ben Whites and that. It's not always going to work. But as a result of him going a little bit extra, he was able to put himself in a position to increase that variance level to a point where he ended up getting lucky and getting 200 points because he's got players that people don't own as well. Not everyone owns. So yeah, if you're in a horrible position, you go De Bruyne all day long. You don't piss about, I don't think. That's what I would do anyway.
I mean, Jota played 70 minutes and outscored my triple Liverpool attack that included Captain Salah. Like that's pushing it. You pushed the envelope and it worked. Like I mean, it's an unbelievable week. Unbelievable week. So yeah, I've got to try and manifest in my brain that Maddison and Son are going to be all magical in the combo. I mean, the reverse, the North London derby, at the Emirates, Maddison and Son were fantastic. The old darts. That's in my head. I'm like, yeah, the darts. He's going to throw some darts.
But this is the thing of the whole form, is it? Teams and players can turn it around any given day. And the old mantra of in a derby as well, that's when you see it happen quite a lot, I suppose, where it sticks in memory. I mean, just look at Everton versus Liverpool. I thought Everton was shocking for the last few weeks. They just turn up and really deserved that win versus Liverpool, I thought. And Calvert-Lewin turns.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying that's going to happen this time, but
I hope so.
No, can you say that's going to happen?
Just say that's going to happen. That'd be good.
Yeah, but my point is that teams can look bad and suddenly switch on and look good. Like it can happen all the time. So yeah, I think there's always a chance that could, I suppose, happen. I don't think you're beating Arsenal though. Sorry, boys. It'll take something special for that to happen. Sorry, I won't be invited on again.
Always.
So, I mean, I guess we're at the point now. Has anybody any other questions or anything like that? And I did want to give a shout out quickly to the guy. He's on X. He's at FPL Dan Dave. So he topped our FPL challenge week this week, and he was second in the entire world. He's actually going to win a prize, which is nice.
What does he get? A stress ball?
He gets a Nike football. Yeah, he gets a Nike football and then a stress ball and a goodie bag and stuff. But it's not often you see people that you just chat with every day, just turn up and top something like that.
Yeah, we got some questions. Why not Raya as one of the keepers? So like Walker and Raya was another thing. White or Gabriel, like change one of those to Walker. And then put Raya in goal was another consideration for me.
Yeah, but I just think the Arsenal defenders are so much more solid that they're definitely going to play, isn't it? So you're kind of wasting that slot. The defense is. I get it that Walker could get some attacking returns moreover, but no, to me that's just you want the double game week goalkeepers because goalkeepers are so random, and you want that solid Arsenal defender.
You want to get the Pickford luck, don't you? You want to get the Pickford 18 points, whatever it is, just. Hope for the jam on
but it's not a terrible idea. Again, I'll come back to if you want to just be different to everyone else for the sake of being different, then that's fine.
Andy Mack asks, any fear losing Salah and Saka, lads? Yeah, loads. But what can you do with this week? Like you look at the teams. You've got doublers and you've got doubles. You know what I mean? Is you got to play for them.
Yeah, I might still actually start with Saka. That's an option that I've got. But because I already sold him on Wildcard, it feels bad to now bring him back in for more money, even though I've got the money.
Yeah, but he's only moved about 0.1 all season, isn't he?
Yeah, but because I think I've had him from the start, so he's now 9 million, I think. So I lost money selling him on my Wildcard this week, and then I'm going to have to buy him back for more. So psychologically, it feels like I shouldn't do that, but it shouldn't really affect. The reason why Saka is actually quite good is you could start him versus Spurs, because I'll be honest, he probably does pretty well. His expected value in that game is still pretty damn high. But you can bench him this week, and then obviously for 36 versus Bournemouth is great. You can then sell him in 37 as one of your other options to Richarlison or whoever it's going to be. And then obviously you can go back to him again in 38, potentially. And that could be literally your whole transfer chain can be Saka in, Saka out over the whole time. which kind of like. I think it's pretty good. But we discussed booking those in. You only need one thing to go wrong, and suddenly you're like, yeah, I'm in a bad position now.
Just checking.
Any more? I
was going to say, just checking my microphone's still working because I've just had a massive coughing fit.
Nice.
A couple of questions about Werner being a pick. I think because Richarlison's back in training, there's obviously, from an FPL perspective, there's a risk. Obviously, Son just goes straight out there. Richarlison just goes straight up top. So there is that. We talked about Johnson earlier, potentially being a risk because of Kulusevski, potentially. FPL Dan says Burn and Dallo or Sharon Maguire. Sharon Maguire.
Agreed.
Andrew Dale says Silvestre and Shearer or Tarico and Ruud van Nistelrooy.
It's got to be Van Nistelrooy.
There we go.
Yeah. I always liked Silvestre was so good for the 8-pointers, though, mate. He was so good for the 8-pointers.
There's so many of your audience and have no idea what we're talking about anymore.
Yeah, but anyone who's champ man, they know.
We allow it. Yeah, no, that's a hard choice to be fair. But Tarico was Tarico in the Van Nistelrooy one?
Yeah.
All day then. All day. I love Tarico.
Romance. If you had who to sell first, Saka or Salah?
Well, have you guys seen the rumours that people are saying that Salah might not even play this week? I don't think I buy that at all, but I know he's not been playing great and they've been struggling to score goals. But to me, the last thing on my list would be, I know we're struggling to score goals. It's not going great. Let's drop Salah for Elliott, which is what I see people suggesting. But I'm not in the know. I mean, this has come from the predictors from Emma's group. I see that some people have done it. So
I'd sell Salah.
Yeah, I still probably would sell Salah, but I just think it's, we've seen this so many times with Salah over the last few years where people start to question him or write him off a little bit or start going, oh, he's too wide, or this happens, or he was poor after AFCON. And the guy is literally the GOAT of FPL. No one would be surprised if he just comes back and starts smashing it again very quickly. No. It was only a few weeks ago. Liverpool couldn't stop scoring the best attack in the world. We just got really unlucky that the moment we went for 3 of them, they basically dropped off a cliff. That's what happens. Just as quickly as that happened, it can come back.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
Right, we're going to call it there, or I'm going to leave you guys to answer questions for 5 minutes while I get a drink.
Nah. We've got more people talking about James Harding. He asked us about who do I start of Petrovic for Vicario. Obviously, you're asking 2 Spurs fans. I'm should start Vicario. Thanks so much. And Luke, that is definitely, it's almost white and blue. So you're in our game.
I have Vicario as well. Yeah.
Yeah. He also remembers the halcyon days of Bakayoko in Champman 98. I am old enough. Bakayoko was the
cheap player.
Do you remember when he signed for Everton? Like, I was so excited.
That happened so many times. Remember, like Kim Kallstrom goes to Arsenal. It's like no one, unless you play Champman, you just don't know who these people are. But Bakayoko. Which one was that? It was like 98 one or something.
98, yeah. Of course. Well, I love the way that you say. Which one was it? Like if anyone doesn't know, Luke Leach literally knows every single element and gear when that was the right person for it to be. But yeah, it was good. It was good. Davies or Van der Ven. I still think I would go with Davies over Van der Ven. I know Van der Ven's just bang on in and stuff, but like he's the only one of those two that I'm considering.
And I'd go Van der Ven just because I know he plays, but I just want Emerson. Could Emerson not play? I mean, you guys know better.
He could play. He could play. Adam?
I mean,
I would probably go Van der Ven. Given the choice. Same price, right? 4-4?
Yes. He's 1.1 more than it. So should I go Van der Ven? Is that what you're saying?
No, don't go double Spurs defence, mate. Just don't do it. Find something else. Find something else to do.
Fair.
Right, Luke, thank you very much for coming on, mate. Really do appreciate it. And if I don't know how many people are here at the moment, but if you have enjoyed,
people.
Say again.
About 400 people.
Oh, nice. Well, if you've enjoyed yourself, then make sure you drop a like on the way out. And if you want to see more from Baker and myself, make sure you hit subscribe, and then you'll see when lovely stuff comes out.
Sunday night after North London Derby.
Sunday night after North London Derby. Shit, do we have to do that? Do we have to?
Do you remember like not only did we do North London Derby, we got hammered, but I then had to do it. I did a thumbnail that said North London is red. Do you remember how angry you were when I sent you that thumbnail?
It was raging.
It's
like you can't.
Yeah,
I think we need to find. Yeah, I'll find that message. But yeah, I was not happy with that.
He was absolutely. I remember
it. It's the worst thing we've ever put on our channel.
That was the worst thing we've ever done.
Right, boys. Enjoy the rest of your wild card, and good luck for game week 35. Good luck to everyone for game week 35, and hopefully we'll see you on Sunday. Cheers,
See you
guys.
later.